success is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics, right? And so for the doubter thinking like, oh, mindset isn't important, great. Convince yourself before your next sales call that person already hates you and won't buy from you no matter what. If you say, hey, I can still do it, okay, I challenge you to do that. Go in there with a failure mindset and see how hard it is to walk out with a success. It just doesn't work.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Sean Ireton, and this is the Nuinspiration Extraordinary Gentleman podcast. I've got someone on the show today who is one of the most intelligent guys I've ever met. He's driven, he's successful, he's doing so many different things, and he's just an absolute pleasure. His name is Dan Mendilow, and I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman a while back for the Lifestyle Hackers event. It was a 3-day conference, and it was one of the most amazing events that I have ever been to. So honestly, it's super awesome to have you on, Dan. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me, man. That was a hell of an intro. I hope I live up to it on this podcast. Yeah, man, it was a pleasure to meet you at the event. That thing was so much fun, right?
Dude, so much fun.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it too. And for the listeners, for you guys, stay tuned till the very end of the episode because I've got a special surprise for you from Dan. So stay tuned for that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over your origin story, Dan. I want to get into that a little bit and kind of see where you came from, why you do what you do, things like that. And then not just tell your story, but I want you to debunk some of these improper notions about the ideas behind mindset and provide some actionable insights on improving your mindset. So before we jump into the good amount of questions that I have for you today, let's go ahead and start with your origin story, man. Like, where are you from? Like, how did you start this journey? Like, how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So you'd never guess it by listening to me or looking at me. But I was actually born in Jerusalem, Israel. And I was raised in New Jersey. And, like some people are, I don't know, born happy. Some people are born, kind of crazy. I was born depressed. And it was really just from the very get-go. And, being a foreigner, I had an Israeli accent back then. That was my first language. I spoke Hebrew. My English was terrible. And, kids aren't that nice to people who look and sound like them. You know what I mean? Right. So try being like very different. And so that really didn't help much, from the very beginning of my life. I felt like I was out of place. I felt like I wasn't, like the rest of people. And for a long time, I always felt like I was just weird. And, kids didn't want to play with me and they kind of picked on me. And I have some really vivid memories of some people being really nasty, and I was just trying to make friends. And I don't think I was even 4 when I came home one day and I was just sick of it. I was sick of being singled out for it. And I told my mom that I just wanted to be like everyone else. And so I would stop speaking Hebrew so I could focus just on English. And I never really spoke Hebrew after that. And that set up a pattern of me feeling like I had to be someone different, something different, that what I was wrong or bad, and that I was an outcast. And, I was picked on for all of the rest of my school career, elementary and middle school, just as bad as me trying to fit in and just having it blow up in my face at every turn, even if it's simple, you get this, I'm sure. I was made fun of for what I looked like, right? You know how important image is. And, coming from an Israeli family back then, as well as now, they wear a little bit more like metro. I don't even know if that's a word anymore. Maybe I just dated myself. They, wore like tighter clothes. So I wore tighter clothes and I was ridiculed for that. And then I bought baggier clothes and I was ridiculed because I gave in. And it was like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. I was pretty much screwed no matter what. And I had maybe like 3 people I could call my friends until high school, where the person I thought was one of my best friends, the one person who I could tell everything to, who wouldn't use it against me, turned on me and convinced everybody he knew to pick on me as well, bully me, steal my things, tear up my books, for a whole year. I was that kid who ate lunch by himself every day. Just angry as hell because my depression kept me locked in my head. I didn't really know how to interact with people. And frankly, I hated them. I hated everybody around me. I hated myself. At that point, around 14, 15, I grew nearly a foot in a month. Which was the most excruciating pain I'd ever been in my entire life. And it stretched me out. So now I was 6'2", the same height I am now. And I weighed about 135 pounds. I was like a walking popsicle, like a walking lollipop. Like I just was a twig. And my joints hurt. My doctors told me that I'd never be athletic, that I'd always have joint pains for the rest of my life. They weren't totally wrong on that one, but that I'd never be able to pack on muscle. Because my joints wouldn't be able to take it. Add on acne and braces and everything. And that was like the perfect storm of a kid just hating himself. And so I started smoking weed, to try to escape from that. And I found, alcohol in college, and quickly learned that if I just got drunk enough, I wouldn't care about anything anymore. And there also still trying to fit in, trying to make friends, trying to date, trying to just be happy for a single freaking day. Something that seems so easy for so many other people to just have friends, right? That was like impossible for me. And, by then I was drinking until I blacked out almost every weekend. And, never mind how bad those Sunday hangovers were. But I got to a point where I really couldn't take it anymore. And I remember being in my college dorm room thinking about, as I saw it then, my 2 choices, which was either deal with the fact, accept that I was, a weird loser like everybody told me I was, and just come to terms with the fact that I was never going to be happy or have great friends or even have fun. That was just like off limits to me. I was going to live this shitty life for the rest of my life, whatever, or end it. Or kill myself. And the next morning I woke up, and that's a weird thing, when that kind of thing happens to you, when you actually start really considering ending your life, it's a shock. That's a surprise. At least it was for me. It totally caught me off guard. I did not think that I was capable of that. Thank God I was too scared to do anything about it. And it kind of woke me up. And, I had that thought in my mind where it's like, this is completely unacceptable. This can't be where I'm at. There has to be another option. So I started learning, right? I started studying the brain because I thought that something was wrong with me. Right. And I thought that, maybe if I could figure out why my brain is leading me to interpret the world as being a horrible place full of pain and darkness, whereas someone else's, maybe your brain, interprets the world as something full of sun and happiness and love, then maybe I could figure it out. And that didn't help. So I started studying psychology, classical psychology, Freud and Jung, and behavioral and, child psychology. And that gave me a little bit of a clue, but then I realized like, okay, well now I have all this knowledge, but what the hell do I do with it? Where it's like, great, there's something screwed up in my brain. I can't just make it stop, right? I can't just tell myself to be different. I tried that my whole life. It didn't work. Why would it work now? And so then I started really getting weird, like actually strange. Like I started studying hypnosis or neurolinguistic programming and timeline therapy. I went on this journey that literally took me around the world studying from coaches and gurus in India and working on myself with every transformational method I could find. And I started chipping away at things. And I started gradually reducing my anxiety, reducing my depression, making friends, dating and changing my body. And I started getting really good at this whole transformation thing, really figuring out the mind and understanding like, okay, this is what's happening. This is how I change it. This is what I do. And there was a tipping point in Thailand at a meditation retreat. After having steadily built up and feeling even better and even better and even better, and thinking that there was hope, and at this meditation retreat, there was a moment that it just felt like a weight finally lifted, where it felt like I could breathe again. Like I had been holding my breath my whole life, and finally I could breathe, and I felt my depression leave. I cured my depression. Something, by the way, that people still tell me that cannot be done. You cannot cure chemical depression without drugs. They still try to convince me that it never happened or that I'll slip. Haven't yet, and I won't. But that was the moment that it, boom, gone. And after that, I turned my, the same methods onto my business and my social life and my body. And soon I was running, 5-minute miles and deadlifting 400 pounds. I had an active, fun dating life. I had great, inspiring, energetic, awesome friends who supported me everywhere. And I built a 6-figure business in 6 months. I changed my entire life using this system, and I keep doing it, right? I keep doing the work on myself. And ever since then, I felt the need, the drive to give back to life, that it was really important to me to find a way to use this, not just for myself, but to help other people and to help them grow, especially the people who have tried other methods like me and thought that maybe they were broken, or maybe they got stuck and couldn't do anything about it, or, their smarts like mine ran out and just weren't going to help them anymore. And I get to fill my days with helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses now and rekindle their social lives or their love lives, or just falling in love with themselves and their lives again. And it's the best thing I've ever gotten to do. It's the best thing in my life, and I get to do it every day.
Now, you've told this story before, and this is the story that you told at Lifestyle Hackers, and I like this version a lot, by the way.
Thanks.
But I'm curious, like, how long did it take you? What was the time span between realizing, like, oh shit, like having that epiphany moment where, like, wow, I didn't think I was capable of contemplating suicide. Mm-hmm. Like, what was the time frame between that and when you felt like you completely cured it? And then in that time frame, like, what were your thought processes? Were you thinking like still contemplating suicide here and there, and then resisting the urge? Like, did it feel like a dichotomy between two personalities? Was like, how was all that happening, and what were you going through during that time?
Yeah, so the whole process took me 13 years because I kind of did it myself, right? I mean, I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know how to look for help. I didn't know anything about the transformation world really to start, so I had to learn my way through. I didn't know about hypnosis, or I had never heard of NLP before. I knew that Tony Robbins existed, but I didn't really know what to do with that information. You know what I mean? And I didn't think that going to a workshop could help me cure this thing that everyone told me could not be cured at all. Um, and yeah, man, it wasn't a straight shot. I mean, nothing really is in life, right? So I was, making some progress here and there and thought I was on a good one, and boom, something would happen and take me down. I would have this sudden sort of come to Jesus realization that I had this other segment of my life to deal with. I'd have a nasty breakup, or I'd get into a fight with someone who would just put up this mirror to me, whether it was real or not, but, showed me that, like, okay, I'm not really all I thought I was. There was kind of a lot more, because I had to deal with it, man. I had to deal with an overactive ego, right? Because I overcompensated when I was super depressed and everybody, was picking on me. I had to come up with a defense mechanism, right? But then I had to crack through that. I had to break my ego down. And that's a really hard process. And every once in a while, I'd look at my life and I'd compare it, right? Hop on social media, as you do, and you look at everybody else. Then there was one time where I was still working in an aerospace company in corporate America, wearing a monkey suit every day and working for building somebody else's dream, feeling like my life didn't have any meaning. Like, what was the point of going to work? What? So I could pay the bills? So what? So I can get drunk on the weekends? So what? What's that? And I saw all my friends having a great time, and they were all closer to each other than I was. And again, I started slipping. And it wasn't really a slip. It was more like I was realizing what I didn't yet do, what I hadn't yet worked on. And it just, sometimes those realizations came really hard and fast. And that would be like, oh, crap, it fell on me like a ton of bricks, thinking like all this work. And now, again, I feel like I have nothing. And then I would have, I had some really hard nights where, like, there was one night in California, I think when I was like 27, 28, where I came really close. Like, that was a really bad night. And yeah, I mean, what kicked it off there was just like social stuff. I just felt like I had a group of people around me who weren't really my tribe. I wasn't really close with any of them. The only time that I really had fun was when I was drunk or on drugs. I just had a nasty breakup, so, that didn't really help me out. But, sometimes that happens, with, my theory of personal evolution is almost like martial arts. You start off as a white belt and you get really good. And now you're like the best white belt. You got a lot of confidence, right? Then they promote you to yellow belt. But then all of a sudden you're getting your ass handed to you by all the yellow belts. And you think, I suck. Why do I suck? I used to be so good. This is terrible, right? But it's not, right? You're looking at different things. You're comparing yourself to different people. You're in a different place in your life, and your perspective is different. And I didn't know that. So I'd do a lot of work and I'd feel really good. And by the way, this happens to almost all of my clients as we go through the process. They'll think, oh, I'm backsliding. I was feeling so great. And now, boom. And then we find out that no, you just gave yourself a promotion. You're looking at things very differently from an even higher level. But you don't go from being the best in the lower level to being the best immediately at the higher level. You rarely ever go from being the best white belt to being the best black belt in one day. More likely or not, you're going to be face flat on the ground for a long time before you get yourself back up and going. And I started learning that, and then started being able to identify what was going on and when I needed help. And the thing also there was that I started finding coaches. There's a limit to how much you can do yourself. And the unconscious mind has evolved over millions of years to make sure that you can't see everything inside of it. Because if you did, you'd go insane. If you really saw all of your doubts, all of your fears, all of the things you don't want to be, all of the things you've done, all of the things you're doing, all the things you're not, maybe all the things you are, all at one time, because you could look inside of your own mind, you'd have a very short and uncomfortable life. I'm convinced of that. It's a self-defense mechanism that we all need. And so when I learned about that, I just started reaching out, I'd find a coach, I'd find an NLP coach, I'd find a hypnotherapist, someone like that. It's like, hey, I don't know what the hell's happening with this. Help me see what's there. And they would, they'd show me and help me clear it. And then I had a lot of techniques that I could use myself to support that. And that fast tracked everything. And the moment that I started doing that was the moment that I if I didn't do that, I don't know if I would have ever finished that journey. But I was able to compress what would have taken me years on my own into months or if not weeks with a coach. And that's what really helped me dig out. And now I have 4 coaches. So, because I have no patience for that kind of stuff. I'm like, F that. I don't have another 13 years to feel even better. Like,
right.
No. If I'm moving up to like black belt level, I'm going to get 4 coaches to help me get on the ground and start kicking butt now.
Yeah.
And so that's what was, a really important step in that evolution.
It's funny as I use the Taekwondo analogy there, and I literally went through that. I was in Taekwondo as a child and went through that process. So that's cool. But that's basically why I started my business too. It's just, I had gone through a lot of those similar situations as yourself growing up. And I was more the opposite of you, rather. It was more like almost 300 pounds and didn't have a lot of friends. I had my close-knit group of friends. But I went through a lot of those struggles, and the clothes that I was wearing was oversized and baggy to try to hide my weight because I wasn't comfortable about it. And I was just really going through a lot of the same issues that you were, where it was just feeling like you didn't really have too many people around you that cared, even though you do. Like, there are some things where you're just like, oh yeah, I have my parents, I have maybe 1 or 2 friends that really care about me, but you still feel like you not supported. You still feel like you're not loved in some ways. And
sure.
And going through that entire process that you did, where it was like 13 years and things like that, it's kind of like what I went through in terms of like my style and my image and how I approach things like that. So you and I have a very similar perspective on that of trying to condense all that we learned in that long period of time down to a very short amount of time that we can provide to our clients. So it's really cool. And I did want to ask you a question, though, and this is a question that I've had since the Lifestyle Hackers event. Did you ever get back in touch with that old friend from high school that betrayed you? Did you guys ever reconnect and kind of, him apologize, or you guys reconcile anything? Like, did anything like that ever happen?
I tried, because I went to see a guy named John DiMartini, who he's not for everyone. He's got a very particular style, but he is just one of the most amazing minds I've ever come across anywhere. And I was with him for 2 days when he taught what he calls the breakthrough process, where you can come to sort of equanimity on anything, where you look at, because his major point in that workshop was that, life is not about trying to get highs, because when we're artificially high, or we try to artificially inflate ourselves, like with positive thinking, that's why positive thinking doesn't really work, right? You ever try to think positively? What happens next? Negative thoughts, right? Because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Life wants to balance out, right? And so when we're artificially low, life will come and support us up. When we're artificially high, life will come and pull us down. And I found that, right? When my ego was too big, I would get a really ugly shot. But whenever I was really, really, really low, something would kick in, whether it's a voice from myself or from someone else that would help me up. And so his whole thing was a process that would allow you to look at anything or anybody, and then instead of feeling hurt by it or crushed by it, come to a point where it's okay. Like, that's true forgiveness, by the way. True forgiveness is not saying, hey, you did this effed up thing to me, but I'm over it.
Right.
That's not forgiveness. That's not forgiveness at all. That's like you sweeping it under the rug. Real forgiveness is admitting deep down from your heart that nothing wrong was done.
Interesting.
That there was nothing to forgive. And so I got to that point, and I really wanted to reach out to him. At that point, first of all, I wanted to test myself, but also I wanted to see if I could find him and just connect with him, and not even for him, and just to say like, hey man, thank you for doing that. You pushed me into a life that I would have not have had otherwise. You didn't know it at the time. I took a long time to realize it, but it's the people who hurt you the most in your life who are responsible for making you who you are. I'm convinced of that, because the people, yes, the people who support you, help you along your way, certainly, but I think it's the people who hurt you. Maybe even if it's just you hurting yourself, that push you to grow more than you would have ever grown otherwise, because you wouldn't have needed to. When you succeed, you simply repeat what you had done. Why mess with the recipe when it works? So this guy ruined my whole life at that time. And so that was one of the things that really pushed me down so far that I got to a point where I had to push myself up. But I couldn't find him. I looked all over Facebook, all over online. I could not find him. And after a couple days, I just gave up and thought, all right, cool. I'll write him a letter, burn it, one of those things. And that way I feel like I got it off my chest. And yeah, when I think back and I talk about it as a tool, I talk about it as a major vehicle in my life. Almost thank God that it happened. Some person a while back asked me in a workshop, if I could go back and change things, would I? If I could wave a magic wand and instead of being the picked on kid in school, be the popular one, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because, now not only do I have a life that I really do love, but I get to help other people with it. It's a gift that yeah, okay. A lot of my life kind of sucked. I'm only 34, right? So I'm going to say over half, and I dug myself out of depression at 31, by the way. So, a lot of my life was really painful, but I have the rest of my life that is beautiful and is set and is only getting even better and better and better because of that setup.
Right.
So,
yeah,
there you go.
It's that whole strength through adversity kind of thing, and
yeah,
that's great. So scientifically speaking, how does life coaching and meditation benefit us? What are some of those things that you can look to science to support a lot of the methods and expertise that you have?
Cool. So when we talk about life coaching, I'm only going to talk about my version of it.
Okay.
Which I created a different name for it so that people get that I'm a different animal.
Okay.
I call myself an empowerment coach.
Okay.
Because I work strictly on the unconscious level. Instead of saying hey, write these lists out for yourself every day, or tell yourself these affirmations, or, go out and talk to 100 people, these sort of conscious level things. I learned a set of skills that allows me to help a client heal where it matters most, inside of their unconscious mind. That's where all of your behavior comes from. That's where your emotions are. That's where your beliefs, your perceptions, right? Perception creates reality, right? That perception is contained inside of your unconscious mind. And your mind your central nervous system is broken down into two parts: the sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic is devoted to revving your body up so that you can be in fast action. It's your fight or flight, right? That control, whenever you're feeling anxious or any of the negative emotions, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, it creates stress in the body and stress in the mind so that you can do something about it, right? That's one of the things. People think that negative emotions are like punishments. They're not. They're notices to you to do something about it. It's your body saying, this sucks and is dangerous. Change it. and your body switches over into fight or flight so that you can either punch something or run away. But the problem is that these days, we don't stress out because of like a saber-toothed tiger at the door. We stress out because Nancy said some evil shit at the break room, right? And we don't have anywhere to run, and we're hopefully not going to assault anybody. So we sit there in our chairs and we stress.
Yeah.
So this evolutionary process it's like no longer useful for most of the times that we feel it. And yet we haven't evolved for the next couple million years in order to get rid of it. So we have to deal with it. But the problem with stress, or one of the problems with stress, is that it puts your brain into survival mode. So anything that's not necessary for quick survival is turned off. Creativity, strategy, memory, patience, willpower. Those are like the big ones, right? But even things like it screws up your diet, right? Because when you're really stressed out, Sean, when you're really stressed out, what would you rather have? A salad or like a lasagna or ice cream or a candy bar?
I'm going to go for some Jack in the Box, dude, straight up. I'm going
Jack in the Box. Yeah, right. There you go. Right? 2,000 calories in a meal that you're going to be hungry after, right? Because it's looking for quick energy. You can break down fast and turn it into energy so you can run away. It doesn't think about muscle. It doesn't think about, do you want fat or not? And stress it stores fat right on your thighs and on your belly. So it does like the worst things to your body and your mind. So when you want to change any part of your life, it's important to think with your parasympathetic part of your brain. Because if you're at work, you want to be even more creative and strategic and patient. You don't want to be reactionary, right? Snapping at people doesn't really help you. So any practice that will help you get more into your parasympathetic nervous system is useful. And by the way, those two parts of you, we'll talk about like the stress part of your brain versus like the strategic creative part of your brain. They fight for resources. So if you have 100 resources in your brain that you can use it to anything, to creativity, to strategy, to just peace of mind, to chilling out, to falling in love, to, right? You can devote resources to that, or you can devote resources to stressing out. If you have 100 resources and 90 of them are going to stressing out, you have 10 for everything else your body does, including sleeping well, eating right, digesting, thinking straight, running your body in general. So any practice that promotes bringing resources into the parasympathetic, the creative, strategic part of your brain is amazing. It lessens your stress, your fear, your anxiety, your worries, your negative emotions, and increases all of the good things that help you in life. Meditation has been shown to be one of the most effective tools to do that. So that's why it's useful, right? Same thing with life coaching, effective life coaching, empowerment coaching, like I do, turns the resources on to your strategic and creative part of your brain, and it keeps it there. So your brain simply doesn't have resources to stressing out, freaking out, getting angry, being sad, feeling hurt or guilty or jealous, right? All the resources are going into creating a business, having fun with your friends, having a beautiful, loving relationship with your partner, just taking a freaking nap on a Sunday, So that's the real power inherent in those two tools that you were talking about there, and that's the science behind it.
So with what you're talking about, it's also just being mindful of where distress is coming from and where eustress is coming from, recognizing the differences between the two, and then trying to focus more on the eustress part of it and seeing it more as a good thing. Because I know that recently when I've been listening to some Tim Ferriss, he was talking about the fundamental difference between like distress and eustress, and eustress is the good thing, right? This is the stress that we feel when we get positive feedback and reinforcement for improving ourselves in different ways. And it can seem stressful because it's a challenge, but we know we can overcome that, versus the distress, like what you were talking about with being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and some shit that Nancy said at the break room. So basically that's what you're talking about, right? Is just recognizing the distress as certain things and then moving into the eustress.
I actually don't see a difference between the two, because I look at things at an even deeper level. That is useful, certainly. But when you learn how the unconscious mind works and you become aware of the power of beliefs on the mind, then it all goes down to beliefs and perceptions and negative emotions.
Gotcha.
Right? That, the reason that the shit that Nancy said in the break room hurts is the same reason that you feel pressure and self-doubt when someone says, hey, why don't you raise your rates by 200%? Or why don't you go and create a business of your own? Or like, yeah, you're awesome. Go speak on this huge stage in front of 10,000 people instead of 10. It's the same sort of thing. It's a belief, a limiting belief that is inside of your mind that is creating an adverse response, right? That when Nancy says, you're good for nothing, maybe you have a belief in you that you're not good enough. So it pushes on that belief. And if that belief is really strong, what Nancy says is really going to hurt, right? If there's no belief, what Nancy says won't make a difference.
Right.
So you're good for nothing. You're like, I'm worth everything. You don't know who you're talking to, right? Now, when someone says, hey, go speak on this stage in front of 10,000 people instead of just 10, you're a rock star and you're ready for it. And you think, I don't know. It could be a thought, I'm not good enough, but it's a different version of that thought. It's like, I'm good enough for the level that I'm at, but maybe I'm not good enough at that level.
I see.
It's the same sort of feeling. And so when you learn how to go in and change that belief and erase that belief from the unconscious mind, then you can erase that stress, right? So it really doesn't matter. The point is, are you having a response that is limiting you, causing any sort of stress in you that is making you feel any sort of negativity or pain? Whether that's, debilitating, or whether that's just preventing you from playing full out, right? From launching your business to the next level, or going and talking with that beautiful woman, or feeling confident, just feeling good about yourself every day, right? It's all about your beliefs. And so once you know how they work, you can clear yourself of stress at any level.
Yeah, that's good. So like that, that documentary or whatever, The Secret, right?
Yeah.
You're obviously familiar with that one.
Sure.
So what would you say to someone who thinks that mindset has nothing to do with success? It's just a bunch of baloney, and all they think about is like The Secret in terms of the negative version of it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So if we're talking about The Secret is all about mindset, right? That's really what it is. They put it in a very the movie, at least, is a very culty, weird sort of thing that I don't know why they created it that way. I really don't. Like, I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is a ton of bullshit. Because you can't just have mindset, right? You have to have action as well. So the success equation is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. It's 80% or 20% what you do and 80% how you do it. Right. And so for the doubter thinking like, oh, mindset isn't important, what I'd say is, great. Convince yourself before your next sales meeting, before your next sales call, that person already hates you, doesn't want to have anything to do with you, and won't buy from you no matter what. Convince yourself of that and go into the call. Now, if you're listening to this and you think, no, I don't want to do that, then you immediately agree with me that mindset is important. Right? If you say, hey, I can still do it, okay, I challenge you to do that. I double dog dare you to try. Go in there with a failure mindset and see how hard it is to walk out with a success. Because it just doesn't work. It's just like, here's another example of it. a good friend of yours can say the meanest shit in the world to you. I effing hate you. And you look back at them and go, aw, I hate you too. Right? Like, guys, we do that all the time. We talk that way. Like, women often look at us like, I don't even know why you're friends. Like, do you guys even like each other? Like, yeah, like we love each other. What are you talking about? Like, you stupid, ugly punk. Like, let's go get a drink. It's just like part of our language. But someone else who says the same words could cause a huge fight, right? Because it's the mindset behind it that changes the meaning of what you do. And if you say that mindset isn't important, then you clearly don't think that body language is important either. Because remember that your mindset, we're talking about your unconscious thoughts. It doesn't matter what you tell yourself over and over. I'm confident, I'm smart, I'm freaking awesome, I'm a rock star. But if you don't have those beliefs in your unconscious mind, if you think that you're a loser, then your body language will reflect, I'm a loser. Okay. And you won't even know it until someone else tells you or shows you, or you'll connect the dots between the results you get. Right. So your mindset, your unconscious beliefs and perceptions control what people hear when you say what you say, what people see when they see you, when they see you move. It changes where you breathe from. It changes the eye contact you make. It changes everything, and don't tell me that people can't feel each other's thoughts. You ever looked at someone's, I ever looked at the back of someone's head for long enough that they turn and look directly at you?
Yeah.
Like, you ever checked out, some beautiful stranger and all of a sudden they turn and look at like, ooh, crap, like busted, right? Everybody's got that. You think, oh, I'm across a room. How did that person know? We feel each other. We feel each other from a long way away. What do you think we feel?
Yeah.
There's a thought, there's an attention, there's an intention. And that comes from your mindset. That comes from your beliefs and your thoughts. And that's before we get into woo-woo stuff like the law of attraction and everything else, right? That's just when we're talking about basic psychology. And so that's one of the reasons why mindset is all important. That you can have the best sales script in the world. You could have the best production team making you the baddest looking YouTube videos. You can have an entire team putting together stuff on your Instagram. But if people don't feel you, you got nothing.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that we can start to rewire our minds? So hence the name of your business is Rewire Your Mind. How do we start to do this? If we're not ready for a coach yet, mm-hmm. and maybe we know we need a coach, but there's some ways where we want to kind of do some of this on our own. Like, what are some of the techniques and some of the different ways that you can tell us like what we can do in order to change some of these limiting beliefs about ourselves?
Sure. So the very first thing I would say, I know if you said like if you're not ready, the very first thing I would do is really question that.
Yeah.
That's number one. Because look, I tried doing it on my own. Reading books and watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts and all that other stuff, or even going to workshops and seminars, but then using the techniques on my own. And it took me 13 years. But now with my clients, I help them clear depression within hours, right? 13 years to a couple of hours. I mean, you really got to question yourself. How much is that time of yours worth to you? Right. You say you don't have enough money now. Okay, well, can you afford 13 years? Can you? And if it's not going to take you that, let's say it takes you a fraction of that, 3 years to get where you want to go. How much time? Because all that's opportunity cost too, right? That is money. And by the way, money comes back. Time does not. Time is a resource you will never get back. And you don't know how much you have, right? I don't want to make this dark, but you really don't. I don't know. You don't know. We don't have time to waste in feeling powerless, in feeling weak or feeling upset or feeling depressed or feeling worthless or feeling unloved when you have a solution. right? And the best solution, like, I don't really try to learn many things on my own anymore. I go to coaches first thing. But if you're really at a place where it's like it just can't be done, then a lot of the really good coaches out there do have free resources, or they have more affordable online programs that you can get. Like I have the Breakthrough Mastery Academy, but I also have a Facebook group that's free, and I drop a lot of resources. I do free trainings in there. You're part of that group, right?
Yep.
And you've been able to ask a question, and I've answered you, and I've given you little pointers of like, hey, look at this, think about this, try that. I teach techniques in there, and that's a great place. Just go on Facebook, look up the Breakthrough Mastery Society, and join. It's free, and it's especially for entrepreneurs who are looking to change their lives, their businesses, and get back into having even more fulfilling relationships and creating their lives by design rather than being ruled by their businesses. But I also have a podcast that's also free. I do that with Sophie Kessner, who's also another badass coach. And we exactly wanted to do that. We wanted to create a free resource for people where you can go and learn how to rewire your mind. Because a lot of times you read podcasts or watch YouTube videos or even read self-help books, and they don't give you the information that you need in order to create an unconscious shift. And so then it just turns to be entertainment, right? When you're looking at this thing and you feel really good for like a couple days, and then you go back to doing what you used to do or feeling how you used to feel, it's like a spiritual cup of coffee, right? It gives you that boost, but afterwards you need another dose.
Yep.
What happens if you don't have your other dose? Well, then you're screwed. You get into a crash.
Right.
So we created a podcast for that. And the first 10 or 15 episodes teach you everything you need to know about your unconscious mind in terms of science and woo-woo in order to use all the things that we need. Look, this is what we did. We took certification courses that both of us used to teach. We broke them down into modules, and we're giving it to you for free. This is shit that I used to teach for $5,000, and I figured, F it. And both of us thought when we were creating this, I was like, oh, we're going to make fights. Like, we're going to pick fights with other coaches. They're going to hate us. Good. I'll put a target on my back. I don't care, because it's a way for us to up our games too, And so we're giving stuff away. And there, like right now, we're getting to a money module. We just finished a whole thing about relationships and questions to ask yourself and how to shift your perceptions on why you got in the relationship, how to improve it, how to meet each other's needs even more, how to have even better sex and intimacy. And we're getting into a money module of how to rewire your mind so that you can first find your abundance blocks, the things that are preventing you from accepting and bringing in even more money, and then what to do about them. I can teach you a quick process here, but what I'd say is those resources have so much more content than what I can give you on this podcast.
Okay.
And both of those are free. Okay. The podcast is called the Mind Mastery and Manifestation Podcast.
There we go. So to answer that question, you guys, go check out Dan's podcast. Go check out his podcast and join his Facebook group as well. He's dropping knowledge like every single day. Like it's serious. Like seriously, I go in my Facebook and I'll look at notifications. Like Dan just posted in the Breakthrough Mastery Society. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go check that out. So we kind of alluded to it a little bit. I wanted to touch on the link between the mindset and action. And again, if this goes into your podcast, let me know. But if you want to expand on it, go ahead. But how do we continue to motivate ourselves once that excitement has worn off? Like, right, well, that stimulation of the spiritual caffeine is kind of worn off. How do we stay in that place of pure drive and keeping the fire lit under our asses? Like, how do we keep that motivation going?
Sure. So first of all, I think motivation is bullshit. And I think that's why so many people struggle with it. I define motivation as using willpower to do something you don't want to do. And that's why it wears off, right? Because eventually you run out of willpower, right? Think about going to the gym after a long day's work. You're going to need willpower to do it, right? Because you're exhausted. You just put in, God knows, 10, 12 hours of work. And going to the gym just doesn't seem like a lot of fun. But if you had a bright and shiny goal of how you want to look and feel, like you want to be, you want to walk down the beach and turn heads, whether you're a man or a woman, right? Or whether you want to fit back into your clothes that you have hanging in your closet for the last 3 years, waiting for the day that you can rock those, rock that suit or throw on that slinky black dress again, right? And you have that, and it's in your mind, and you know what it looks like, and you know what it feels like, and you know what it sounds like when people talk to you, and you have that visualized inside of your mind, so it feels real, and it's it's enticing, and you get the whole thing of what your life will look like, be like, and sound like, and all the senses, right? Where you can drop into that reality. That's a meditation, by the way. I just described a really a meditation that I teach quite often. I did this actually at the event as well, if you were there in the mornings, that you create this scene inside your head that brings out these incredible emotions, of like for me, a couple months ago, like in November, I got anemia, and then my liver kicked out, then my kidneys kicked out, and my adrenals kicked out. My body filled with toxins. I couldn't get out of bed. I'd lost about 12 pounds in a week. All of my muscle fell off of me, and I was weaker than I'd ever been in my entire life. I could not get up. And my body reset. I didn't work out for 5 or 6 months. Now I'm going back to the gym again. But I went, like, all my clothes were literally falling off of me. And I went down to a weight that I had not weighed since high school. And I was used to being, jacked, ripped guy. And so what I started doing, what I do now just about every day, is get back into that meditation and see, part of it is what I want my body to feel like and look like. And I can make it feel real to me. And it's so exciting to have that and feel so good that even when I'm tired, I go to the gym because I'm inspired. I don't rely on motivation anymore to do anything that I do. I get inspired because inspiration, that's love. When you love where you're going, you love that goal you're working on, you love who you are, what you'll have, and the impact that you'll have on the people around you, your family, your friends, what you'll be able to create in your life, you'll never need motivation ever again. That inspiration will carry you. And as long as you keep that love burning, and you do that by just focusing on it, and you can add variety too, change things up a little bit, right? Have it expand as you expand, right? So if we're going back to the body and the working out example, one meditation could be just really feeling and being there on the beach when you turn in heads. Another one could be, I don't know if you want to compete in something, or walking into an office looking like James Bond and feeling like you own the room. Right? Or walking up on stage in that dress, whatever you got, whatever you're wearing, whatever you are, you're a complex creature. And when you can hit on that meditation, when you can create that inspiration coming from various different sources, you'll never run out of inspiration and you'll never need motivation again.
Love it. So my last question here is, how can we stop complaining about things that are out of our control, and how do we rewire our brains to think more positively about what we can control?
So when we're talking about what you can or can't control, let's be very clear. Anything that's happening in you can be controlled. Because some people think, I can't control how angry I get. Yes, you can. You just haven't learned how. Right. I can't control my depression. This is what I thought too. Yes, I could. I just didn't know how. Right. But there are some things you can't control. Right. I can't control what's happening in Syria right now. Right. But I have had a lot of times people are saying, when I read the news, there's so much out there and I feel so despondent. I feel so helpless and so small. I can't do something about this. Right. So when we're talking about that, let's let's talk about that. So anything in you, anything that you feel or think can be controlled.
Right.
Anything that's happening out of you might not be controllable by you, right? Sometimes things can be, sometimes things can't. You cannot control other people. You simply cannot. You can try, but there's no assurances. And so what I would say is to focus on your sphere of influence. And it can be really small. Maybe your sphere of influence is just you, just controlling how you think and feel on a day-to-day basis. Maybe your sphere of influence is your family or your business, your colleagues, right? The things immediately around you. And, wherever you are in your career, wherever you are in your life, your sphere of influence may be bigger, maybe smaller. It's not important. But when you focus on that, see, if everybody focused on their spheres of influence, because we all interact, right? We're all 6 degrees separation from each other, right? If we focused on our spheres of influence and improving not just us, but improving the situation of the people around us to really help each other, to love each other and accept each other and be grateful for each other and support each other in our own personal developments and our business developments and our love life relationships and everything like that, then we would change the entire world. So you might not be able to affect something happening in Syria, but you might be able to change something here. And you might be able to help someone who might be able to help someone who might be able to help someone who has political influence. Right? And so if we all thought about it that way, I'm convinced we'd be able to change the whole world. Right? But it's got to start with you, how you feel and how you think and how you operate in your life, because sadness is contagious. Being upset is contagious. Negativity is contagious. But so is positivity. The question is, which one is stronger? Right? Where is your will even stronger to make your life even better every day, or to keep it the same or allow it to get worse? When your will is to make everything even better for yourself and for the people around you, and your will is steel, this is what's happening. This is what I accept in my life and nothing less. Then that becomes contagious too.
And that's why I love conversations like this. So like when people have people like you around, Dan, like when they have, friends and supportive people who are inherently positive, it is so much better. That sphere of influence that you're talking about makes all the difference in the world. And I have a fiance who's supportive and positive and awesome. And then I have, like I said, friends like you who are just really cool to have around and be able to talk and
thanks, man.
All that kind of stuff. And then of course, being in the Breakthrough Mastery Society, like, seeing that stuff come through and I cleared out my Facebook recently. I went through and unfriended some people that I either never talked to or whatever. And then I unfollow the people who I may want to stay in touch with, but don't want to see their content every single day because
right.
Not all of it is beneficial because it's not adding value to my life. It's not making me feel any better about myself or making me feel any better about the world or politics or anything like that. It's just a lot of negatively charged emotion coming through on Facebook. And I really encourage people, if you're on Facebook and you are going through some of the stuff that I have, like go unfollow some people who are just negative. just unfollow those negative influences. And then actually what I've done is I've prioritized Dan's updates. As well as Abby's updates. Abby was Dan's co-host for the Lifestyle Hackers event, and so as well as Lauren too. I've actually I've made all three of them. I've made their post come to the top of my feed. So every time I open Facebook, your guys' content is what I see first. Just so that, and Lewis Howes and some other people too. But like. Yeah. Just making sure that I see positive things that are going to make me feel better about my life and what's going on in the world so that I'm not starting my day off with negative emotions. Because I know myself. I know I'm going to be opening up Facebook first thing in the morning when I wake up. That's just the first thing I'm going to do. So I took control of what I see in my news feed instead of blaming everyone for all the negative stuff that they post. So what I have control over is my own newsfeed. And that's what people need to remember. But I wanted to ask you, for the listeners, when they want to get in touch with you, or if they want to reach out and get more of Dan, some of the best places to connect with Dan would be Instagram, and that's Dan Mendilow. It's at DanMendilow, Dan Mendilow. So you can go follow him on Instagram. And then, as we mentioned several times throughout this podcast episode, he's got a Breakthrough Mastery Society Facebook group. So just go on Facebook and search for Breakthrough Mastery Society. And then when you try to join the group, and then once you're accepted in and everything, make sure you let the group know that I sent you. You came from my podcast and everything. And the special surprise that I'm going to have Dan elaborate on a little bit further is a free guide. So it's a free ebook that he's going to be launching here soon. It should be available by the time this podcast is up. So Dan, can you go ahead and explain what this guide is for and why you've created it?
Yeah. So this is, I wrote this with entrepreneurs in mind. Right? Entrepreneurs, business owners, because you're the people who I see as the influencers of the world, right? You're the movers and shakers. You create ideas and spread ideas. And it's just amazing to see other entrepreneurs and business owners grow. And the problem is that, when you're creating a business by yourself, as Sean, you can work these 10, 12-hour days every day, and it starts wearing on you. And real quick, stress can build up real fast. And it's not like it just turns off when you stop working. And it can interfere with your sleep, and all sorts of things can fall by the wayside. You feel like your relationships might be starting to fall apart. Maybe you're feeling even more distant from your friends, your loved ones, because you're working so much. Or you're feeling maybe that because of the stress and the pressure of the job that you can't take vacations, you can't relax fully, that even when you go out, even if you try to have brunch with friends, part of your mind is in the office. And there's so much in there. You have such a drive to help people. But at the same time, there might be self-doubt about where your business is going, or will you be able to take it to the next level? Or are you doing the right things? Or maybe your business is doing great, but it's not fulfilling anymore. Like your mind is on to I have this awesome business, but what about my life? Am I even happy about where I am in life right now? It feels like there might be something missing. And, maybe you have turned to podcasts, or you've turned to YouTube videos, listening to, ebooks in the car or whatever. But, that's just another spiritual cup of coffee that's not really helping. So I created this guide to help you get real methods that work, because that's one of the things that I'm really good at, is helping people very quickly identify those limiting beliefs, those emotions, those negative emotions that are holding you back from creating your life by your design, and helping you clear them. And so this guide, it's called the 7-step system to rewire and master your mind. And it is the full breakdown of the 7 steps that I guide all of my clients through, that I went through to heal my depression, that they've gone through. I've had clients who have quintupled their income because of this system. I've had real estate agents who went from selling nothing to $3 million in 4 months in real estate, actually over $3 million in real estate from using this system. People who've erased their own depression or fallen back in love, reinvigorated their business using this system. So I put it into, I think it's a 26-page guide.
Very nice.
That will be free for you to check out so that you can start doing this work yourself.
Love it. Love it. So you will be able to get that free guide. Again, it's free. 26 pages of just a shit ton of value that that Dan has decided to put together for you. And it is bit.ly DM free guide. That's bit.ly/DM, like Dan Mendilow, free guide. bit.ly/DM free guide. So you can download that and get all that good stuff. So thank you so much for being on the show, man. But I've got one final question, and that is, what is your image saying about you today?
Yeah, my image is saying that I am loosening up on. I used to have this very formal sort of image, and you'll see that I'm working on that in all my marketing and my social media and everything, is just kind of being more chilled. I used to wear suits all the time when I was working with people, and now I wear jeans. And I have a client coming in about 9 minutes. I don't think I'm going to change out of this t-shirt, his black t-shirt that I'm wearing. I think I'm just going to roll with it. And just kind of allowing myself to really be fully me and see who I really am, instead of putting on this front of being super polished and kind of businessy. That's really the motion that I'm making right now in like all my life, is just being, you know what? I'm just me all the freaking time. I talk like me all the freaking time. I dress like me all the freaking time. Sometimes it's a little bit more cash and sometimes it's a little bit more dressy, but like, I'm not a different person when I'm in business or when I'm working with my clients, because I realize that they want to see me. They want to see who I am. And so I think my style lately really reflects that kind of fun, casual, easygoing kind of confidence that I think is a part of my trademark.
Yeah, and you can hear it in your voice too. I mean, it really has a huge impact on the way we are perceived and the way we show up to the world and everything like that. So it all depends on the situation, right?
Sure.
It depends, when you got a client coming in, you just want them to see you for who you are, because they're going to be revealing things about yourself,
right,
or about themselves rather. Right. And they want to feel like they can be vulnerable. And if you're wearing like a full suit and everything and they're trying to be vulnerable, it's going to make them feel like they can't really talk to you, right?
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of sense. But anyway, thanks again so much for coming on the show, Dan. I really appreciate your time and everything that you're doing. I appreciate your service to other people and helping people grow and develop and become the greatness that they really are. And that's why I love our businesses and how we'll be working together in the future, because we make people extraordinary, and that's what it's all about. So I appreciate you.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you right back, man. This is a lot of fun. I really hope that we added some serious value for your listeners. But yeah, man, this is a real pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
You got it, dude. Until next time, take care.
All right, brother.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Nuinspiration Extraordinary Gentlemen podcast. If you enjoyed the content, give it a like, subscribe, and if you know someone who needs to hear this or wants to hear this, share it with them. Don't hold back. Let them hear it. And if you have any questions for me or my guest, we'd love to answer those questions for you. So shoot me a tweet, DM me on Instagram, leave a comment below on YouTube, or find me on Facebook. If you have Anchor FM, you can message me on my station. The username is @Nuinspiration, NUINSPIRATION. And as always, make the rest of today extraordinary, gentlemen.